Figured we're in the camera.
Well, now we're going to do that instead of the piece down. So we're in the piece down. And then go into the sun meditation. So we will determine when the mindfulness comes. Light is going into the sun.
Right. So the bell rings.
I don't think
Let
that's
the sound stretch a little bit. Okay, that's fine. I don't have a problem with
the second thing.
that. Anything else that is a change?
Presence of policy.
Yeah, well,
So you guys will flow distance.
I think it looks like we'll be back indoors. But what for the piece that we've been using?
Oh, okay. Nobody's using these.
I think if you're not using yeah, good idea. Morning, Sharon. Got everything you need?
Yep.
Okay. Ruby.
Morning, Sharon.
Good morning, Steve.
I'm gonna do actual times.
Huh?
I'm gonna do actual times. I'm gonna do, the refrain of all God's creatures on paper. Are we live? Yep.
Yeah.
I'll do the chants.
My name is Peggy Lagodny, and I'm a worship associate of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Cleveland. It's good to see all of you this morning, here and out there. Unitarian Universalist congregations are unlike many other spiritual groups in that we don't have a common creed that defines what we all believe. You will find that Unitarian Universalist beliefs cover the spectrum: Christian, pagan, agnostic, Buddhist, atheist, humanist, and those still searching for a spiritual path. What we do share is a common enter into sacred space here and at home. I'd like everyone to think about where your cell phone is and silence it now, to prevent any distractions during our service. We have some announcements this morning. Vern, would you like to come up?
Good morning. My name is Vern Sackman. I'm a member of your UUCC Cleveland Congregation's core team. Last Sunday, Ben Austin, one of the other GCC core team members, described an important GCC action that's happening this Thursday, October the 7th. This will be a Zoom meeting. We will be doing a Cleveland mayoral candidate forum with mayoral candidates Justin Bibb and Kevin Kelly, asking each candidate about their willingness to commit to 3 platform areas that GCC members have identified as important to the welfare and safety of our community. As we know, power responds to power. and the numbers of people represent power. The number attending this meeting matters to those mayoral candidates. We have committed our congregation to this virtual meeting. So far, we've had 10 who have committed and tended to say, I'm going to check my calendar and get back to you. We were going to have people sign up after the service, but that's kind of going to work out this Sunday. So please, if you're interested, email Lori Albright. Her email is LJAlbright, that's LJAlbright @hotmail.com. Please join us from the comfort of your home to express our community interest. We hope to see UCC well represented, living out the third part of our mission statement, which is justice in action. Thank you.
And one more announcement. The new church year marks many beginnings. Count among them that Helping Hands will be resurrected after the long pandemic year. Helping Hands Network is the volunteer-based group who provides help to members who need a ride, meals, or other assistance on an ad hoc basis. Formerly, Jackie Stimpert and Cheryl Hanger organized the service. Their service laid the groundwork for this group. Now you can count on Nancy Allman and Lori Holmes to continue the responsibilities of organizing these generous volunteers. Several volunteers from before have re-upped, yet often the needs of our congregation outnumber these kind folk. Perhaps you have time, energy, or a hankering for a way to serve. Generally, volunteering involves driving, meal preparation, lending a special skill you have, or helping someone during a recovery. You get to pick and volunteer when and how you choose. Won't you please contact Nancy or Lori to become a part of the Helping Hands Network?
It's appropriate for our blessing of the animal service to hear the words of St. Francis of Assisi, who wrote, "All things of creation are children of the Father, and thus brothers of man. God wants us to help animals if they need help. Every creature in distress has the same right to be protected." Not all Unitarian Universalists believe in a creator, and yet we do affirm and promote respect for the interdependent web of existence, which includes all of the animals that are non-human that we share this planet with. It can be vulnerable to think about that connection. And yet this is the perfect day for us to welcome that vulnerability and that sense of connection with one another and the world we all share as we worship together. Welcome.
Please join me in the words of our chalice lighting. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Please join in to our opening hymn, number 209, All Creatures of the Earth and Sky.
Hallelujah, hallelujah.
It is kind of a treat that even though we've had to move to a virtual expression of worship today, we still have some choir members with us to help with the singing, and I'm looking forward to hearing them provide some more music later on. We come to a time of sharing our joys and concerns, and at a day when we're thinking about the blessings that we have received from other non-human animals, there may be some grief that comes up as we think about the animals that we have lost from our lives. And so I invite you in the chat or in the comments, if you would like, to put the names of those animals that you might be missing today, those that you might be grieving. And also, if there are joys or concerns you want to share with our community, I invite you to put those in as well. Those who are gathered here, I invite you to come forward and place a stone in the water, and then we'll put some additional stones in for those joys or concerns that are expressed online. I'll place the first stone in remembrance for animals who have died. Even though we are still diligently working to be able to gather and worship in person in this sanctuary, it is really wonderful that we still have the opportunity to connect virtually and to share our joys and concerns with one another online. But if there are some joys or concerns today that just don't have words yet, we place one final stone. And today, hopefully, you are able to welcome some of the non-human animals in your life into worship, but we're going to take a moment to officially call them, at least to mind, to call in just our awareness of the animals that we share this earth with. Some of us share our homes with other animals, and so we'll start there. We'll call in the animal spirits of the animals that we care about the most, the ones that we most feel called to care for and protect. Maybe your personal pets, maybe your neighborhood pets, horses at a local farm. You might put in the chat or in the comments section, you care about your iguana or your pet rats. Maybe I would put in there something about our house centipede. You call those spirits in, the ones that you care about, your favorites, and then call to mind perhaps animals in that next circle out, the ones that you may not think about all the time that are in the wild and close by. I think about the chipmunks that run around in the stairs in front of this building, or the deer that wander through, even though they might be, remind us of something about the freedom of that natural life. Maybe the raccoons that upset garbage cans and yet also share a space with us. Call their spirits in, call them to mind, and as a part of this blessing of the animals' time. And then move out from there a bit. Animals that aren't really a part of our awareness on a regular basis. Mountain lions that prowl around in distant realms. Wolves that roam in the forests. Hopes that they will be able to continue to have wilderness to roam around in. What are the animals that you share this planet with that are a little further out? Call in the spirit of the whales and the sea lions. Think about what it means to be connected with them as part of an interconnected web of existence. The boys hear about flying around in the Amazon, elephants that don't even exist on this continent with us. What does it mean to bless those animals and to care about their well-being, to respect the interdependent web that we're a part of? Okay, now that you're thinking about all of those wild creatures, just sum it up within yourself. I know, if you're at home and you're by yourself, this might seem a little silly, but trust me, it's going to feel really good to do it. Just sum it up within yourself, the spirit of whatever wild animals you've been calling to mind, and just make their noises in this space so that we call them into our worship together. Are you ready? Let's hear the animal sounds. Now we can have a blessing of the animals. May their spirits remain with us as we continue in worship. We're going to hear now an excerpt from Little Princess.
We've come to the part of our service where we welcome one another. As you feel safe enough to do so, please do. Okay, it's time for our meditation, time to center, to breathe. Breathe in and breathe out slowly. Breathe in and breathe out any tension or stray thoughts. You can try for stillness, or if there's a lot going on around you, we can enter a state of mindfulness. Take a moment to listen to the sounds around us, the sounds of life, the sounds of our animal companions, of the birds, of the people around us, the music of the wind in the trees. Breathe and be fully, mindfully here. The words for our meditation come from Francis Hodgson Burnett. How is it that animals understand things I do not know, but it is certain that they do understand? Perhaps there is a language which is not made up of words, and everything in the world understands it. Perhaps there is a soul hidden in everything, and it can always speak without even making a sound to another soul.
your beauty shines into us. Oh, wind, you sweep our hills, your mighty breath, both thresholds and fields. Oh, stills the water, you melt and flow through rivers and streams in ice and snow. Oh, brother, you walk all night with all your loves in all night. Oh, sister, you feed all things, all birds and creatures, all snails and beings, all spirits and death. Lead us here and take us to our God so near. Oh God, life, we give you praise for all your creatures, for all your ways.
Our offering this morning will benefit the Cleveland Animal Protective League. The APL is not only a shelter, but provides vet services and advocates for animals. They envision a society in which animals are valued, treated with dignity and respect, and protected from cruelty and neglect. Every companion animal in need has a chance for rehabilitation and rehoming. The human-animal bond is cherished and supported, and every pet is wanted. Now, when I was looking up information on the APL, I found this as part of their core values, and when I read it, I knew that it aligns with our UU values too. It says, "We believe every animal and person has value and worth and should be treated with respect, empathy, and kindness to support the human-animal bond." Sound familiar? Since they receive no government funding, they rely on generous financial supporters to make a difference in the lives of the animals they care for. You can either send in a check or give via our Cash App, which is $UUCC44122. Please give generously within your means. Thank you.
Thank you, Carmen, for sharing some of your original arrangements with us today. I invite you to read along with the acceptance of gifts words in your order of service. We offer these gifts with gratitude, and we acknowledge the constant gifts of time, talent, and treasure that strengthen and nourish this congregation. As a reflection of our commitment to community within and without, our purposeful spirituality that is ever searching and growing, and our intentional actions that lead to greater justice in our congregation, our city, our nation, and our world.
Our reading this morning comes from Walt Whitman. It's entitled The Beasts. I think I could turn and live with animals. They are so placid and self-contained. I stand and look at them long and long. They do not sweat and whine about their condition. They do not lie awake in the dark and weep for their sins. They do not make me sick discussing their duty to God. No one is dissatisfied, not one is demented with the mania of owning things. Not one kneels to another, nor to his kind, that lived thousands of years ago. Not one is respectable or industrious over the whole earth.
Behold the dawn, it was a clock, a clock in glass. It wax, it is gradually thought of a puddle or a pond in times. There's a melody in the melody. Over to the window of the sea. He weeps because he's gone, and we go. Suppose you were, you silly seagull. Could you explain it? Could you explain it to your she-gull? Which compels us to love the If I were thou, I could be yours.
It's like a leopard, exactly the dress in Behold a panther cry, prepare to say, ouch. Never yet, if called by a panther.
Thank you, choir, for those selections. That's not the Ogden Nash, none of those were the Ogden Nash poem that immediately springs to my mind about a frog being a bird. That's okay, we'll get that next time around. But now's the time in our service where we want to offer a blessing to the non-human animals that we share our spaces with. You know, in Unitarian Universalist circles, we've talked about this before, the priestly function of doing things like offering blessings and that kind of thing, it belongs to all of us. We share that as a people, as a community of faith. And so in your order of service, you're going to see some words that you'll be able to speak intentionally to the non-human animals that you share your houses with, hopefully that you're sharing this worship service with, that if you have to chase them down later on and bless them, you can do it whenever. It doesn't have to be right now. But if you don't have an order of service right in front of you, I'll just read the words and give you a chance to say them back if you like. And this is just a way of recognizing that these animals sacrifice something in order to be in our lives. We've domesticated animals. We've taken something away from them a bit in order to have them close to us and to feel safe with them. And they've sacrificed a bit of their wildness, as we'll say, so that we can perhaps remember a bit of our own. And so this is just a thank you, a blessing to the animal companions that we share space with. And it begins with those words, thank you. Thank you for sharing your lives with us. We lavish hopes for your health and safety. You give up your wildness to to remind us of ours. You teach us how to talk without words, to sing without tunes. You show us love without questions. From you we learn how love grows from kindness alone. We just think intentionally about those kinds of sentiments for the animals that we share our space with, we might have a deeper appreciation for what those relationships really mean. And people have known that we can learn a lot from other animals for a long time. We've been observing and learning from animals in our own homes for thousands of years. And some of the things we've suspected for a long time, scientists have only recently verified, like cats recognize their own names. They just choose not to respond. Some of us have developed the same kind of skillful nonchalance. Like when we know someone's waiting to hear back from us about an amazing opportunity to be of service, but we pretend we haven't seen that particular email or heard that voice message. Some of the similarities between people and other animals might hit a little too close to home. But we can learn things from other non-human animals. Cows are more productive when they're listening to relaxing music. Cats, big cats or domesticated cats, watch prey carefully to decide whether it's worth their effort. And if they miss out on something, they don't dwell on it, they just move on. We can learn some things about ourselves from observing other animals too, like elephants. Did you know that when circuses would capture young elephants, they would chain them by the leg to a post that the underdeveloped elephant couldn't budge. It could try, but it wasn't strong enough to move that chain around its leg. But over time, the elephant got bigger and stronger, but the human captors could switch out the heavy chain for flimsier rope. Sometimes they didn't even need to tie it anywhere. Because when it was younger, that elephant had learned that it couldn't get free. There was no use to its struggling. So it didn't even try as an adult, even though it could honestly have broken loose pretty easily. It's fascinating, and maybe a little sad to know that about elephants. But what does that say about us? Where in our lives have we just accepted a sense of powerlessness, when in truth we are more powerful than we will ever really comprehend? Or consider the spur-winged goose, which has poisonous flesh. Not because the spur-winged goose is poisonous, but because they consume a steady diet of blister beetles, and the poison from these beetles settles in the goose's body. It doesn't seem to hurt the goose. I guess it might be a sort of protection. But there are parallels there too if we choose to pay attention. People can become toxic too if we take in a steady diet of unhealthy ideas and attitudes. It isn't that people become inherently bad or poisonous, but what we consume sticks with us and it affects the world around us. But we're supposed to be celebrating our relationships with other animals today, right? None of this heavy stuff. Sometimes we set ourselves above other species just because we have this strange sort of consciousness that sets us apart. But we have a lot more in common with non-human animals than we sometimes recognize. Some other animals can actually even reason things out and do math and learn other species' languages. Even our care and compassion for others isn't a unique human feature. I think about a story I read that Nadia Schwingel wrote about a humpback whale that began pushing and guiding scientist Nan Hauser when she was in the water. And she didn't know what to think. This was strange behavior for a humpback whale, and she was scared and confused. She realized, though, that the whale noticed something that she didn't. There was a large tiger shark swimming nearby, and upon seeing the shark, this whale decided it needed to protect Nan, and it started trying to push and prod her back toward her boat. Now, Nan had dedicated her life to protecting whales. She had never experienced anything like this before, but she knew that whales sometimes would do this to protect seals from killer whales. So though she doesn't know exactly what goes through the minds of these whales, she does know that they have this altruistic desire to help animals of other species. Animals can teach us the importance of helping one another. Ants, in particular, are shining examples of this. They carry tiny specks of dirt underground to form complex tunnels and live in systems. They tackle prey as a team. They help each other carry leaves back to their colony to use as mulch for raising fungus. They work harder than many species just to get through each day, and they do it as a team. No one gets left behind, and no one carries all the weight while others sit on the sidelines. But it's not just ants. African gray parrots will voluntarily help each other get food, even if they don't get any of the food themselves. They perform selfless acts of care, even if they didn't already know the parrot they're helping. I don't know about you, but I like to think of myself as more compassionate than a parrot. I'm going to project a little bit so that we might be able to avoid some of the squelches on the microphone. I was just thinking that I like to think of myself as more compassionate than a parrot. But we all have more to learn about how to value one another, how to collaborate and work together to coexist instead of competing for resources. Baby Tasmanian devils already know this. They make lifelong friendships. As young devils, when they start socializing, they have friendly sleepovers with other young Tasmanian devils, and they maintain those relationships throughout their whole lives. They prefer to share food with their original friends from youth when they're given the chance to do so. Now, our companion animals probably come to mind when we think about animals and unconditional love, caring for one another. Some of the animals we share our lives with would be hard-pressed to withhold support and care, even if we get mad at them, even if we neglect them a bit, even if we don't always care for them impeccably. They return with hope and exude a desire for relationship, unconditional love. It's like they understand that relationships matter. The way that we nurture our relationships matters. Sometimes we get caught up in the busyness and the stress of our personal challenges, and we forget that we're in relationship with one another, with other people, with other animals, the rest of this planet. And that's another thing that gets mentioned all the time when you look at things that people can learn from non-human animals. We need to slow down a bit and take time for rest. We fill our days with a steady stream of activities, places to be, people to meet, tasks to accomplish. But taking a cue from our companion animals, or even the tigers at the zoo, the hawk that perches up on our steeple and guards the parking lot, we can take quiet moments and rest for a bit and give ourselves time to relax and reflect. See, it's not just us that bless the animals. We talk about a blessing of the animals. We ought to think about how we are blessed by the animals in our lives. Let's face it, humans tend to work too much and rest too little, and no other species seems driven to overwork the way we do. Other species enjoy downtime. They get to re-energize and relish each moment. Look at pigs. They roll around in the mud all day and enjoy themselves. They eat, and they lay around until they get hungry again. And while that might seem lazy, we could learn a thing or two from them about relaxing once in a while. And this behavior goes along with something else that's important, which is remembering to play. Some animals seem to engage in playful behavior for no practical reason. We've probably seen our companion animals do it, but otters play in the wild too. ravens and crows and other jaybirds will actually play pranks on one another and on other animals for no reason other than to play a prank on somebody. Maybe there's some kind of survival skill being practiced there, but we haven't figured out what that is yet. All we know is that play is important to a lot of animals. And for some reason, we forget that life is better when we're able to laugh and play and be delighted. And if we can do that, we'll be able to practice another lesson we can stand to learn from animals. Listen more, talk less. Or wait, did we learn that from Hamilton? No, that was Smiley. Listen more, talk less is something we learned from non-human animals. When you think about playful animals, you might think about dolphins. Dolphins are pretty playful animals, but they're also excellent communicators. Bottlenose dolphins even have a unique name for one another. They communicate with these little squeaks and squeals, and there's a specific way of identifying each other. That's how they know where each other is in the vast ocean. They have to listen in order to understand where each other are. If they all whistled at once, none of them would be able to find one another. So they've honed their listening skills in order to function best as a group. And humans can especially learn from dolphins that listening to another person, rather than always needing to talk, can actually benefit relationships much more in the long run. Maybe part of our problem is that we take ourselves too seriously. It's not always healthy to be able to think deeply about ourselves. Rather than rolling in catnip or pouncing on string or something, the way that our house cats might do, without any worry about how they appear to anybody else. Dogs are the same way, chasing a ball or sniffing at lampposts or gnawing on a bone, just relishing the moment without worrying about how they look to other people or other dogs. Letting go of our self-conscious self-evaluation can do us a lot of good. Letting go of our inner critic and the judgments of others that we might carry around. Stand a chance to live a little more fully and embrace enjoyment of life if we pay attention to the way animals try to teach us about it. And part of the secret is that non-human animals seem to be able to just live in the present moment. Non-human animals, by their very nature, live focused on the moment, while we are often distracted by future events or things that happened in the past, a fight with a friend last night, the performance review from our boss tomorrow, our growing to-do list for the coming week. By taking our cue from non-human animals and noticing more of each present moment, we can find a chance to more fully appreciate what's happening right now in our lives. I mentioned the deer that wander through here, or one for our neighborhoods. We see them in our yard from time to time. And they just peacefully flow from one activity to another, searching for berries or roses, fresh water, just enjoying their surroundings, until there's a reason to react to a perceived threat, and then they react to that need in the particular moment, and then when the threat passes, they move on. One thing they aren't worried about is whether they're right or wrong. We get so attached to that, whether we are right or wrong. As human animals, these brains of ours aren't always friendly to us. But evolution favors those creatures that focus on what matters most: finding food, remaining healthy, resting, breeding, and caring for young. When we let go of our sense of pride or self-importance, then we might be able to have more of the outcomes and results we most want for ourselves and our communities. Letting go of our attachment to being right or wrong could free us to align ourselves with what we value most as individuals and as a community. So I invite you today, or this week, to allow yourself to be blessed by the animals around you, whether it's the animals in your house, the animals in your yard, or in the wild that you happen to see. When you see them, take a moment. Notice what they're doing. What can you learn from them? How can they bless you? Moment now to sing our closing hymn, All God's Prayers Got a Place in the Choir. May we be mindful that our non-human animals that we share this earth with have a place in that interdependent web. And that we have opportunities to share it with them responsibly and to learn from them as we do so.
All God's creatures got a voice in the choir. Some sing low, some sing high, some sing out loud. Tell choir. Some just clap their hands or balls or anything they got now. Listen to the bass, it's the one of the bar where the bullfrog croaks and the hip hop bodies grows and grows with the beat. And the just goes through. The dogs and the cats, they take out the middle where the honeybee hums and the crickets fill. The donkey brays in the pony days and the coyote howls. All God's critters got a place in the choir. Some sing low, some sing high, some sing out loud on the telephone wire. Some just clap their hands or all or anything they got now. Listen to the top where the little birds sing on the melody with the high notes ring. The hoot owl hollers over everything, and the jaybird disagrees. Singing in the nighttime, singing in the day, the little duck quacks and is on his way. Possum ain't got much to say, porcupine talks to himself. All God's critters got a place in the choir. Some sing low, some sing higher, some sing out loud on the telephone wire. Some just clap their hands or paws or anything they got now. It's a simple song living sung everywhere by the ox and the fox and the grizzly bear. From the young gator and the mockingbird, the sly raccoon and the turtle dove. All God's critters got a place in the choir. Some sing low, some sing high, on the telephone wire. Some just clap their hands or paws or anything they got now.
We're going to read our COVID covenant together now, just as a reminder of our commitment to keeping one another healthy. As I mentioned, we're moving rapidly toward being able to be in person in this sanctuary. There's a few more things that we have to get in place for that. And so this covenant reminds us of our commitment as we continue to dance with the pandemic. In beloved community, we welcome everyone, absolutely everyone, into this space of worship and fellowship. In this time of pandemic, we covenant to respect one another by considering the policies our leadership has established and to take all of our steps with one another with grace and understanding as we work to make this a truly safe place for all people. May you continue to bless and be blessed by the non-human animals in your life today. And may you share those lessons with the rest of us so that we might all learn together and continue to grow closer and to be able to live more fully as a community with one another. Amen. And blessed be.
Please join me in the words of extinguishing our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Thank you, Peggy. Thank you, Wire.
Thank you, Reverend.
Thank you.
I didn't mean to disturb your meditation. I saw you had handed off your order of service, and I didn't see where the other stack was, and so I just ran and grabbed some. But